ජීවිතේ වැඩිපුර ලැබෙන හොඳම දේවල් විඳින්න. දැන් SLT broadband වෙතින් 75% දක්වා වැඩිපුර data සතුට ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා සිට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
Good evening. Decision time. Debates held in Parliament over the current political situation brought about by the local authorities election. Good governance ahead. President advises to maintain stability in government until Supreme Court is consulted on the matter of appointing a new Prime Minister. Joint opposition to receive a position. Former President nominates the opposition leader's position to the joint opposition. SLPP chairman suggests parliamentarian Dinesh name. Another election. Delimitation report over the Provincial Council elections was handed over to Minister Faissal Mustafa. Minister promises to present it in Parliament within 2 weeks.
I hope to call all political parties. This can be debated in Parliament.
And returning victorious, Sri Lankan cricket team arrives in the island after a successful Bangladesh tour.
As long as we play to our potential, and I'm happy, and we play to our potential more often, we will win more matches than losing.
So we begin another night of uncertain politics in our nation. Good evening everyone and welcome to First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Maish Johnny. In the next 30 minutes I'll update you with everything that went down during the day today in politics here in Sri Lanka. We also have all the glamour and glory from the 71st BAFTA Awards later on in the show. But first, in our lead story. As uncertainty reigned over the continuation of the coalition government, Parliament convened this evening to debate on the current political situation. Deputy Speaker and SLFP's Media Committee Secretary Thilanga Maithripala informed Parliament that the President had requested the UPFA led by the SLFP to continue in the national government in order to maintain stability in the country until legal clarification on existing the unity government is sought. Making a special statement during the debate, he confirmed media reports following a meeting with the President last night that the SLFP will exit from the national government.
Parliament convened for the first time after the local authorities election at 10:30 this morning. During the session, parliamentarian Dinesh requested a debate on the current political situation on behalf of the joint opposition, following which Speaker Karu Jayasuriya adjourned Parliament for 15 minutes in order to call for a party leaders' meeting. Once parliamentary proceedings resumed, the Speaker informed that the debate will begin at 4 this evening.
When the people have given their verdict, you are still trying to cling on to power. The public does not have any faith in you. You have failed, and so you must listen to the people's mandate and call for general elections. The people taught us a good lesson. The government has not failed. Just because the government lost the local authorities election, they say the government has failed. What sort of claim is this? In which country has a government changed because they lost an election in the village? Do not worry, we still have time. We have 2 years more and we will turn around the results. We have faith in this.
People have delivered a verdict, and in a democracy, the people's verdict must be respected. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa polled 47.58%. The vote he polled that in the presidential election in 2015, January, was more than the vote he polled now. There have been 3 elections in recent times. In none of these elections has President Rajapaksa been able to obtain more than 50%. The constitution, the laws of this country cannot be subverted by your claiming benefits under a local authority election to your advantage in the way you please. But I was quite alarmed when quite early in the campaign, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, that sometimes the election could result in Tamil Elam blooming after the election is over. And the reason he said for that was there was a new constitution being framed which might result in that happening. This message was propagated amongst innocent Sinhala people in this country. I want to put on record that my party at the election in our manifesto talked of a political solution within the framework of an undivided, indivisible, single country. And when we did that, how dare President Rajapaksa say that Elam could bloom after the election?
There was an announcement that circulated in media last night. I confirm this announcement is true. It stated that the UPFA requested the President if the party can part ways with the coalition government. We requested from the President as the chairman of the party, taking into consideration the stance of the United People's Freedom Alliance and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. The President stated that he would like to maintain stability in the government and country until he seeks Supreme Court opinion on the matter and requested us to continue until then.
Well, discussions took place between President Maithripala Sirisena and parliamentarians representing the UPFA and SLFP today. Expressing views after the meeting, Minister S.P. Dasanaika said the UPFA led by SLFP will continue with the unity government until the President seeks legal advice on existing the unity government. He went on to say that the party will take necessary legal action as per the Constitution after consulting the Attorney General. Deputy Minister Nishantha Muthuhettigama also expressed views to media after the meeting.
We haven't given up hope on establishing a government of both the UPFA and the joint opposition. Discussions centred on taking a definite decision on the matter. We expressed hope about a new Prime Minister and a government. We had long discussions with the President on decisions taken by the UPFA and the SLFP. Both the UPFA and the SLFP will continue to work together. We decided to make major changes within the government, and we made the request from relevant individuals on the matter, but their responses are rather negative. But we're resolute to continue on our current stance. That is one of the options we are looking at, and we have a strong majority support too. President had already informed relevant individuals of the purpose of having these discussions. We will anyway continue with our decision, even if those political parties don't agree with us. I don't want to mention who, but we will continue with our decision while supporting the President.
Well, yet another meeting got underway last evening between President Maithripala Sirisena and UPFA and SLFP parliamentarians.
Following the two-hour meeting held at the President's House, SLFP Media Committee Secretary Thilanga Sumitipala said the UPFA made a decision to leave the unity government. He went on to say that the President had decided to seek Supreme Court opinion on the possibility of appointing a new Prime Minister while appointing a new cabinet of ministers once the party exits the unity government. Meanwhile, parliamentarians representing the UNP met with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe at the Temple Trees to discuss the current political situation.
We decided to strengthen the government and the party. There are rumours that Sujeeva Senasinghe is going to switch parties, but that is not who I am. We are sure that the government is strong and we have the support of the majority. No, there won't be any change in that.
It was in this backdrop that members representing the joint opposition convened a media briefing prior to this morning's parliamentary session.
Amid this chaos, they presented two draft bills to Parliament today. The National Policy and Economic Affairs Active Liability Management Bill and Demutualization of the Colombo Stock Exchange Bill were presented. The joint opposition will take them up with the Supreme Court. Civil society members who criticised former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, saying he is going to stay in power forever after the 18th Amendment was brought in, are now in trouble because the 19th Amendment doesn't allow the Prime Minister to be dismissed. Now the President has to ask the Supreme Court how he can dismiss the Premier. And can R. Sambandhan be the opposition leader anymore? As per the law, shouldn't former President Rajapaksa be appointed the opposition leader? According to the Constitution, there are no ministers, prime ministers or a government at the moment. Today marks a historic day because they are violating parliamentary traditions and the Constitution by convening a parliamentary session when there is no government. We hope to look into removing the Prime Minister in a political, constitutional and judicial manner by taking this up in Parliament and the Supreme Court. Right now, the Constitution has become an obstacle. When we met with the President, he said he needs to look at the Constitution. But I am not sure if he made that statement by being truthful to his conscience. Because at one point he expressed concern on losing both sides. In this case, I particularly feel sorry about the state of the SLFP. TNA requested Western powers and the President yesterday not to separate the unity government. This is the only opposition party in the world which is trying to protect a governing body. The Prime Minister tried to get signatures of 113 members yesterday. I emphasize that the current Premier cannot obtain support of 113 parliamentarians without the help of the TNA. Many UPFA members have rejected him, and he has become a Premier who doesn't have majority support.
Meanwhile, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the joint opposition should receive the opposition leader's position. Responding to journalists following today's parliamentary session, the former head of state accused the president of shielding the prime minister.
We will ask
for the position of the opposition leader. The very same person will be appointed as the Prime Minister. That is a deal between the UNP and the President. We told them that if that person is from the SLFP, we will support him. We will not support a Premier from the UNP. We will be in the opposition, and as the opposition, we are expecting a suitable place for us. Why do they need the Attorney General's advice? Don't forget that he is the Executive President.
Well, leader of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Peiris stresses the government to appoint Dinesh Gunawardena as the leader of the opposition. He made this remark convening a media briefing at the party headquarters in Bathramulla today.
2 days ago, a group of SLFP ministers met with the Prime Minister at the Temple Trees and were hosted to dinner. They are attempting to lean towards the UNP. Parliament has no value and does not reflect the true public mandate. Hence, we insist that Dinesh Gunawardena be given the opposition leader's position. Susil Premajanta has made a statement today saying that if the UNP is not removed and a new government is not established by the weekend, he will support the joint opposition together with 15 others. In addition, Minister Mahinda Amaravira, in his capacity as Secretary of the UPFA, has informed President that the UPFA will come out of this government. Who else can appoint a Prime Minister? It is only the President who can do so under the Constitution. The Constitution outlines that the Prime Minister will be in power only until the Cabinet exists. The Cabinet is no more. Its time expired on the 30th of December.
Minister of National Coexistence, Dialogue and Official Languages, Mahogany, states that despite internal changes, the government of good governance will continue to remain in power. Responding to journalists following an event in Colombo yesterday, the minister said that the concept of good governance was never based on individuals.
I am ashamed, disappointed and furious at the same time due to the current political crisis in the country. The public mandate we received in 2015 was not for this. If a government should resign depending on the result of this local authorities election, then we do not need 4 elections. We can appoint the President, the Prime Minister and Ministers all in one election. We are with the United National Front. No one offered us deals, neither are we ready for deals. We have not united with any party. Definitely, don't panic. Even though faces in the government will change, good governance is a concept and it is not based on individuals. If there are thieves or wrongdoers, we will brush them off and we will move ahead.
In other local stories we have for you tonight, the report of the Delimitation Committee for Provincial Council elections was handed over to Minister of Local Government and Provincial Council Faissal Mustafa today. The minister said during a discussion that the report will be tabled in Parliament within 2 weeks in order to discuss changes needed to consider opinions of all political parties.
The Delimitation Committee called for written submissions from political parties, public organizations and the general public and held public hearing in order to demarcate 222 provincial councils' electorates within 25 administrative districts to elect 50% of members to the 9 provincial councils based on the simple majority system. The committee had received 678 submissions for consideration.
Thank you.
There needs to be a discussion not only with the political parties but also with the public and with the public organizations, civil society organizations and the general public. Within 4 months, we have given enough publicity, everybody to give in their submissions, registered letters were sent to every political party. So I think in that context, we have met what you are concerned about.
Before we publish this report, it would have been good for you all if you all could have summoned all the political parties. The final draft would have been discussed with all the political parties before it was published. Then it would have been a more democratic approach. But I appreciate the time constraints you all have. I have 2 weeks. And during that 2 weeks, I hope to call all political parties in Parliament and have a discussion so that whatever changes they want to make at the stage in Parliament, this can be debated in Parliament. But unfortunately, we are cutting civil society and parties not represented in Parliament being part of this dialogue. I will be questioned by the political parties why this final draft was not discussed by political parties before it was published. You all had time constraints. As a minister, always wanted that approach.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
On to business news now. Sri Lanka Ports Authority says the Port of Colombo saw a significant increase in transshipment operations in January this year compared to last year, supported by an increase in productivity. The Port Authority said it has implemented a 3-year development plan to expedite port sector developments in order to further increase container volumes, aiming to make Colombo the maritime centre in Asia. In January this year, the Colombo port had handled 436,303 transshipment 12-foot equivalent units against 362,451 operations in January last year, making an increase of 20.4%. Meanwhile, in January last year, the Colombo port had a total of 484,866 containers, and this increased to 564,155 in January this year. Ship arrival too increased in January, with Colombo port receiving 388 vessels against 339 port calls in January last year. In international business, the International Monetary Fund chief Christine Lagarde has backed plans to transform the Eurozone's bailout fund into a European monetary fund independent of the IMF. Speaking to media, Lagarde appeared to give the plans her blessing by saying the proposed European monetary fund could fill the need for an independent crisis management system for the region. The European Commission has suggested transforming the role of the government-controlled European Stability Mechanism into a full-blown European monetary fund under parliamentary control and anchored in European Union law. Meanwhile, world stocks were in a sixth session of gains today, extending a recovery from a sell-off sparked off fears of creeping inflation and higher borrowing costs. Gains were marginal, however, and scored largely in Asian markets. Meanwhile, oil prices extended gains to hit their highest level in nearly 2 weeks, buoyed by Asian shares recovery and as worries grew over tension in the Middle East. Well, the Colombo stock market began the week on a mixed note as turnover dipped into a nearly 3-week low as investors waited on sideline amid political uncertainty. Foreign investors were seen on the buying side with a net inflow of 21 million rupees. Let's get a full report on the day's trading. For that, let's go to RM Sivanandan from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
The benchmark all-share price index gained 1.94 points to close at 6,565.63, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index lost 5.49 points to close at 3,699.72. The turnover was 288.36 million rupees with 13.27 million shares changing hands in 4,125 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 3,005.81 billion rupees.
On to international news now. The wreckage of the Iranian plane which crashed yesterday carrying 66 people on board has now been found. The Azeman airline flight from Tehran disappeared from radar screens yesterday, 50 minutes into its journey to the southwestern city of Yasuj. Up until this morning, rescue efforts were hampered due to bad weather.
Although the airliner initially said all 66 people on board flight EP3704 were killed, it later said that given the special circumstances of the region, they had no access to the spot of the crash and couldn't therefore confirm the deaths. Helicopters and mountain rescue personnel from the Armed Forces and the Red Crescent, as well as local volunteers, were involved in the search. However, search and rescue teams were hampered by bad weather. By morning today, the weather had improved and search and rescue operations finally reached the wreckage. The Deputy Governor of Kogiluye and Boya Ahmad province was quoted by state media as saying that the wreckage was found near Denjezlu city. No immediate reports on the 60 passengers and 6 crew have been made available as yet. Iran has suffered several plane crashes in the past few decades, and Tehran blames US sanctions for preventing it from importing new aircraft and spare parts.
Well, now more news from across the world.
Five women were killed in a shooting at a church in Russia's volatile Republic of Dagestan. The attacker was shot and killed at the scene and was later identified as 22-year-old Khalil Khalilov, a resident of Dagestan. The Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for the attack. Indonesia's Mount Sinabung, which has been active since 2010, spewed volcanic ash as high as 5,000 meters into the air as it erupted today. No casualties were reported, and Indonesia's National Disaster Mitigation Agency said flight paths at the nearest city of Medan were not disrupted. Prior to an eruption in August of 2010, Mount Sinabung had been inactive for 4 centuries. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau visited the wildlife sanctuary, an elephant conservation centre in India's northern city of Mathura, with his wife and children yesterday. Trudeau, on a week-long visit to India, will conclude the trip on Friday with a bilateral meet with his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi, where the two leaders are expected to discuss wide-ranging matters. Villagers performed a spectacular dragon dance in the midst of dazzling molten iron fireworks in southwest China's Chongqing municipality yesterday evening, attracting around 10,000 spectators. The molten iron was heated to temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius before being launched into the air by 20 artists, creating an incredible lights show, the way it was performed before the creation of modern technology and LED lights.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
On to sports now. The Sri Lankan cricket team arrived back in the island today after successfully ending their tour in Bangladesh.
After emerging victorious in the Tri-Nation Series, the Test Series and T20 Series in Bangladesh, the Sri Lankan team returned to the island today. They were greeted by a special welcome ceremony at the SLC.
It is a great sigh of relief to be here as winners when you all know that is exactly what we have been trying to achieve as a team for the last 1.5 years. To start off the year 2018 on a winning note as a team is an absolutely great achievement. We have to thank our coaching staff and of course the players. Every member of the 15-member squad that took part in this tour was a show of the resolve to improve. We didn't just play like a team, we played like a family.
When asked whether the team can continue on this winning run, Sri Lanka's head coach Chandrika had this to say.
Yeah, I mean, in cricket, you can't guarantee anything about the winning or losing. What we can assure and what we are trying to aspire is that we try to get better every time when we train, every time we play, and we're trying to do our best. As long as we play to our potential, and I'm happy, and we play to our potential more often, we will win more matches than losing.
A Russian medalist duo at the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics is suspected of having tested positive for a banned substance in a potential major blow to Russia's efforts to emerge from a drug cheating scandal. Alexander Rushenitsky, a bronze medalist along with his wife in mixed doubles curling, is suspected of having tested positive for meldonium, which increases blood flow, improving exercise capacity in athletes.
Alexander Krushelnitsky and his wife Anastasia Brizgalova won a bronze medal in mixed doubles for the Olympic athletes from Russia curling team and is under suspicion of doping after failing a preliminary control test at the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. The coach for the women-neutral Olympic athletes from Russia curling team said he was only aware of reports that a banned substance was found in initial testing, but said he highly doubted the athlete would have intentionally taken any such substances. If the doping violation were to be confirmed, the medals of the duo will be taken back.
Well, the energy of change was palpable last evening at Royal Albert Hall in London as they celebrated the 71st BAFTA Awards. Nearly every attendee, nominees and voting members alike, wore black in collective solidarity with the Time's Up movement, which seeks to end sexual misconduct in the entertainment industry and beyond. The sentiment was underscored by Joanna Lumley, who, as the ceremony's first solo female host, pointed out that exactly 100 years ago, the historic building had hosted the women of the British suffragette movement.
With the Time's Up movement.
British writer-director Martin McDonough, whose film Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, took the Best Picture honour as well as the original screenplay prize, noted the timeliness of his movie in his acceptance speech.
Three Billboards. Our film is a hopeful one in lots of ways, but it's also an angry one. And as we've seen this year, sometimes anger is the only way to get people to listen and to change. So we're thrilled that BAFTA has recognized us, and have a good night.
The picture took home 5 awards as well, including for 2 of its actors, Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell.
And the BAFTA goes to Frances McDormand. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
But I want you to know that I stand in full solidarity with my sisters tonight in black. Power to the people.
And the BAFTA goes to Sam Rockwell, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Thank you, Martin. I love you. And I think as we engage in this long overdue discussion about women in the workplace, I also stand on the shoulders of women, strong, intelligent, righteous women who've made my life complete. Fran, you're the rock that this film, and every film you're a part of relies.
Other winners followed largely along predicted lines. Guillermo del Toro won the director prize for his fantastical love story, The Shape of Water, which went into the evening with 12 nominations but took home just 3 awards. Gary Oldman won the lead actor award for his portrayal of Winston Churchill in Joe Wright's Darkest Hour and was brought to tears during his acceptance speech.
In this very important and historical year for women, I am here on this legendary stage to celebrate men. And the winner is Frances McDormand. Nah, just kidding. The BAFTA goes to Gary Oldman for The Darkest Hour.
I thank you, Sir Winston. I thank you, the Churchill family, and of course, once again, BAFTA, I'm so grateful for this incredible honour. Thank you.
Alison Janney took the prize for supporting actress for her turn as the resentful and unforgiving mother in the Tonya Harding story, I, Tonya.
Alison Janney, I, Tonya.
Prince William, President of the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, presented the annual Fellowship Award, the highest accolade given by BAFTA, to director Ridley Scott.
Sir Ridley Scott.
Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Well, Katharina Chang is at the Other Derana Weather Centre with your forecast first evening edition.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now, temperatures are to vary between 16 and 30 degrees Celsius over the course of the day, with low precipitation to be expected in most regions of the island. Now, 40 kilometers per hour winds can be experienced in the Kalutara district. Moving upwards, some clear skies are forecast for the northern region. However, areas of Mathura as well as Galle can experience some wet weather conditions with sunny weather forecast for the cities of Colombo and Kandy. That is it from your weather centre tonight. It's now time to take a look at your city-by-city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. Mahesh Johnny, first at 9, will return tomorrow at the same time. Be sure to join us then. Well, let's take you back straight to London and to the British Academy Film Awards, when nominees, guests and presenters hit the red carpet ahead of the awards ceremony showcasing British fashion. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.